I love to travel, and for me, it's one of the best ways to explore, to discover new people and places in a way that you certainly cannot do with a book. When I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in southern Japan. I traveled to Pattaya, Thailand, and mainland Japan, including Tokyo. And Kelly, I understand that you brought pictures from one of your overseas trips from Bahamas. However, I don't believe this is the one.
That's not it.
Dotti, is that your picture? All right, well, that gets us to Dotti. Our take travels around the world, and that is our way for viewers to share their global adventures. We're calling this the Intrepid Woman Traveler, and blogger herself, Dotti Cunningham, is here to tell us about her trip to Ethiopia. And that was the photograph that we saw.
Right.
You also have a blog, and I love the name of your blog. It's called globedottingtravel.com.
Yes.
I understand that you've been to 40 countries,
Wow. More than 40 countries,
states,
48 states.
8 countries in Africa.
Yes.
Wow, you lead a very quiet life. You don't do anything. Oh my goodness. So I understand these photos are from Ethiopia. This is the Timkat Festival?
Timkat Festival.
All right, what is that all about?
The Timkat Festival in Ethiopia, the Christian church believes that Jesus did not become a part of the divine Trinity until he was baptized. And so instead of celebrating his birth like we do in other parts of the world, they celebrate his baptism.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So that's what the Timkat Festival is all
So
about.
what's going on here?
So they have a procession through the town where they're carrying the replicas of the Ark of the Covenant through the town, and all of the people are chanting. And they had specifically groups of women within the procession who were chanting, and that woman that you saw in that photo was one of the leaders of the chanting going on at the festival.
And Dotti, you specialize actually in planning trips and do guided tours and that sort of thing. I'm curious as to just, for me, it just seems like Africa, and I believe Myanmar was one of the places that you've been. It seems so exotic. The very first thing that comes to mind is how expensive it's going to be. What are some of the things that you put into the planning of trips?
Actually, it's not really more expensive. It's cheaper than going to Europe, for example.
Really?
Yeah, because the hotels are fairly reasonably priced and the food is reasonably priced. So the trip to Myanmar, for example, you can get dinner there for $7 or $8.
Wow.
So it makes the overall cost not really that bad. Of course, you can't always get wonderful luxury accommodations like you can get in Europe. You end up staying in.
You have to be willing to rough it a little bit.
You have to be willing to rough it sometimes.
Can I ask you the world's toughest question?
What is the world's toughest question?
Well, perhaps for someone in your profession, what's your favorite place you've been?
Everybody asks me that, and it is a hard question, but I do love Myanmar. I did a small group tour to Myanmar earlier this year, and I have one planned for October. So I really do love Myanmar.
Well, I love places where you can eat for $7, so
yeah.
I'm all about that.
Yeah, I'm for that. I want to introduce Tawanna Brown Smith. She is joining the conversation from Annapolis, Maryland. Good afternoon, Tawanna. I understand you are a contributor for travelchannel.com, and you also write for 10best.com, and also runs her own blog, Mom's Guide to Travel. Thank you for joining us today. Tawanna, I understand that you were an avid traveler before children, and you wanted to continue to travel as often as you did even after having your kids. How did traveling with the kids change?
Well, the decisions on how long you go, where the places I chose to go, all of that became bigger factors. My husband and I were very sort of last minute, spur of the moment type of people. And it's really difficult to do that with young kids because there's so much preparation and planning that needs to be involved. I was the type of mom where I couldn't just stay in any type of hotel. So all of those become big factors in the planning process.
Sure, and obviously, Dotti, there are certainly some places, you're a planner, where you just can't take the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
There are places that kids,
you have to,
younger kids in particular.
And Tawanna, you have 2 young boys. I understand that you took them to the Grand Cayman Islands. What was that visit like? I'm assuming it's a different prism now because now you're going with your kids. So what was the trip like for you, but also just as a family?
So the trip, it was the second time that I was at the Caymans. And the first time, I just did a lot of shopping. And,
that's a good trip. Sounds like a great trip to me.
That works.
Pina coladas and margaritas. So, that is when the kids come along. And, we do a little bit, a lot more attractions, really trying to assimilate and immerse ourselves into the culture, because that's one of the things that, I really wanted to teach my boys from an early age. It's great and it's a luxury to be able to do these things, but let's learn a little bit more about the people that live here and the natural history of a place. So we went to Turtle Farm Park. We stayed on the opposite side of the island where most of the tourists stay. We stayed on the North Sound, so it's a lot more serene. We didn't eat out every day. We went food shopping at the local supermarket and cooked our own food. And we asked someone at the resort where we were staying, someone local, where do they go eat?
Well, I have to tell you, Tawanna and Dotti, I think I want to travel with you two.
Absolutely.
Come along.
Put
Explore the
me
world
in your
with me.
suitcase, please.
Yeah, exactly. Include us in your trip. Listen, ladies, thank you so much. Tawanna Brown Smith joining us from Maryland, and Dotti Cunningham, globedotting.com. We will continue to bring you travel stories. And you are watching Our Take.